Welcome to our podcasts, Wise Black Nana's Life Coaching Between the Dash. Hey, what do you do when it feels like life has thrown you a few too many challenges, knocked you down, in the bed, hard to talk about even with your best friend challenges, and it feels like the challenges are winning? Wouldn't it be nice to hear from your Nana? Or a stand-in Wise Black Nana? Well, they are Wise Black Nanas, Sharla Walker, PhD, and Joanne Early, MS, two mature women with over 70 plus years of combined coaching and mentoring, professional human resources, and business experience. The wonderful news is, these Wise Black Nanas are still living and learning about this amazing life, about resilience and grit, gratitude and appreciation, and the extraordinary power of love and friendships, being positive and supportive, and learning from others. Welcome to Wise Black Nanas. Let's listen in.
Hi, this is Joanne, and I am a co-host and one half of a Wise Black Nanas podcast team. On this podcast, you guys know that we talk about our lived experience, snapshots and memories from our past, current lives, and we hope future lives. You know what? On this episode, we're talking about the good old days. Yep, it's about looking back, if only for a bit. Dr. Sharla?
Hi, this is Dr. Sharla Walker, PhD, and I'm the other half of the dynamic Wise Black Nana duo. And Joanne is being so nice about the good old days. I mean, I'm going to confess, for the last 3 days, I have been in technology, um,
You can say it, hell.
hell. Hell trying to figure out how to get this episode done, since I had a Trojan horse and my whole system was seized. But anyway, we are here. We're here to share our own personal experience, our woulda, shoulda, coulda, and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about you may not be familiar with, but we hope that you can just take the learning, the experience, and apply it to whatever you're doing now. So let's
Okay.
rock on.
All right, very good. So we always like to do a little bit of research, and we did find, some very interesting, humorous, and downright uh, things to, deeper thought type of things to ponder. So we figured, you know what, we're on to something with this. So let's try to have a little bit of fun. Let's look for, some of the positive things about the good old days, something that's uplifting, because we're in a time where we're getting a lot of negative stuff every single day. So we just like to take a detour from that for just a few minutes and just take a walk back through memory lane and look at the good old days. So yeah, we had a little bit of fun doing this, and we probably will stop and crack up for a little bit just in the thoughts that it brings about for both of us. So we want to just share some of that with you. Dick Gregory was a comedian, a social justice activist, and someone who's very well known for the Civil Rights Act, especially for his hunger strikes, that he would go on to bring light and shed the light on a lot of just horrible discriminatory practices and injustices that were occurring during that time. So he had this famous saying that the only good thing about the good old days is that they are gone. So don't be fooled.
Amen.
Really, don't be fooled. We actually have a lot of those memories too, but we're trying not to talk about those because we're trying to keep it light and we're trying to keep it upbeat. So we also want to emphasize that, there's nothing wrong with longing for the good old days. There is nothing like keeping, having those memories just so that you can keep focused on what is positive and what is great and what is wonderful about today. So, out of some of those good old day thoughts, we had so many great and positive advances. Medically, you guys all know, about my medical situation, and I can attribute a lot of good that came out for me from some of the medical advances that occurred during that time. The technological advances are just out of the world. We could not even imagine some of those things that are happening today, happening back in the good old days. A lot of those advances have saved lives. Just incredible breakthroughs are just things that sometimes we need to stop and be very thankful for today. We've improved our standard of living. And as I, said earlier, just the advances that we've made in every aspect of our life. It's just amazing. So, yeah, there were some good things that came from the good old days, but we're here to have a little fun on this episode. So, Dr. Charlotte, how about some of your examples?
Oh, Lord, it seemed like it's been such a long time. But I mean, you put in 27 years at one company and then you realize that you put in 7 or 8 or 10 at different companies. I think the blessing in that is that the opportunity to have different, um, to gain different knowledge in different fields.
Yeah.
So I relish that. I think the people that helped me and mentored me and coached me and things like that, who helped me erase my risks of fear, because without them, I would not have ventured off into the non-traditional roles
Hmm.
that were available at the telecommunication company. Even though Joanne and I worked at the telecommunication organization, we worked at different departments and they were completely different. So she has a whole different thing of understanding of what's going on as I do. I was fortunate enough to be able to um, step into the what you call the non-operator role, which is non-traditional. They had opened it up for women,
Hmm.
and it was scary. It was scary. That's where you climb poles or you got in the vault, and uh, the men didn't want you in the vault, and it was not a happy place, but it was good money.
Hmm.
So I think that the company did an excellent job of making sure that the women that went into these roles had the right training, were protected, and also for those who became mothers while they were there, they also had additional coverage for them, and they didn't have to go back to their operator position. They were able to continue to get their pay. So I think
Hmm.
it was important, and so I had the advantage of being in the non-traditional role, and which was operations, and being in operations and residential service, which was a big help to me later on. I
Hmm.
think what I can say is to anyone who has an opportunity to explore or to go into new territory without a risk is to take it.
Hmm.
Yeah, take it.
Right.
Maybe you don't have a mentor, maybe you don't have a coach, but you can find coach, and your coach does not have to be your boss.
Right.
Sometimes it's better if they're not.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
so
So you had
that's
some funny stories. You had some funny stories about back in those days when, women,
uh,
even what we wore to work was pretty much dictated to us. You kind of had some funny stories. So can
oh yeah, like when I first started became an operator, I was just out of high school, and the mini skirt was in, and the long wigs were in and everything, but not at the not necessarily at this telecommunication company. Your dress had to be a certain length above your knee, no pants. You had to wear stockings. It was a whole
Stockings.
different,
Ugh.
it's a whole different culture. So you retaliate against that until you get on your final warning, and then you say, "Well, I better ship up and do the right do the right thing." But that's only because somebody cared enough to tap you on the shoulder and say, "You better get it right." You better get it right. But and then also that's also a turning point when men came into their non-traditional role as operators as well, also. So
Mm, mm.
and most exciting was the indoctrination of being in the 502 club. I don't know if any of you know that or know what that was. Joanne, have you heard of that?
Well, not until we started talking about this was I introduced to the 502 Club. So you share with our listeners what that really
50
club
502
is.
club. Yeah, it was like 502. You were at the nightclub across the street, you know. So within a month or so, if you were regular, you had a seat. You didn't have to hurry at 502 because your seat would be waiting for you and your drink would be waiting for you. Some people had such a reputation that they came to work the next day in their 502 outfit. Not me. At least I won't tell that. Anyway.
Well, I can honestly say, and I'm not casting any opinions in one way or the other, that I was not a member of the 502 Club. It does sound like it might have been a fun place though.
It was. It was. But you outgrow it. You
Yeah,
outgrow it. How
yeah,
about you?
I'm sure at some point. Just
How about you, Joanne?
Well, the whole, I know we're kind of poking fun at, some things here, but the whole work has just changed so much. And when we do look back, we kind of forget about work. There were women in certain roles and there were men in certain roles. And it was just kind of during that time when, women were starting to go into non-traditional roles. And I'm hearing you talk about working in the manhole and working up the poles and the telephone poles or whatever. I always knew that I was never fit for one of those one of those roles because I just would not have made it with the aspect of a rat or a snake being down in those. That would not have been me. But we do want to acknowledge that, that work has just changed so much. Even though we hear bits of it now, especially in the tech world, where, more women and minorities are encouraged to go into those fields. It was a very, very different work landscape, back during that time. So, yeah, there were, but this is an example of what we remember from the good old days because, you remember the fun things and, some of the attributes that were attributed to that time, which, and not so much, some of the, just outright discrimination and
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
practices against women and minorities that, were not only rampant, but pretty much accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we were fortunate to work for an organization that really powered through that and really brought it to the forefront, and one of the organizations that was really on the forefront of HIV and
Yeah.
taught me a lot about being sensitive
Hmm.
and awareness about HIV and how to treat employees. So
Right.
I appreciate that
Yeah.
because not every company was like that. So
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we worked in the telecommunications company, but did you ever in your wildest dream imagine what phones would be doing today? I mean, we worked during a time when a
no.
phone was connected to a cord, and once you ran out of cords, you couldn't go any further. But
That's true.
you
That's true.
know, just I mean, now it's your watch, it's your clock, it's your camera, it's your alarm. It tells you when to stop walking and when to start walking, and uh, I-
What time to get up, what time to go to
yeah,
bed,
yeah.
and
I mean, we worked, but what did we work for? The big thing was seeing a prototype of a picture phone, and that's when you
right.
could actually be in a meeting and see the person you were talking to, and that was like a prototype. But we
Yeah, and now
never
we have Zoom.
ever imagined all of this stuff that, has happened in our lifetime. So when we look back at the good old days, I happen to think, I'm glad that phone attached to a cord is no longer there. How about oh my goodness, some of the other stuff like entertainment, how that's changed.
Oh God, I mean, going online to buy tickets and find your seating and
Yeah,
all that, before you had
yeah.
to go to the box office
Stand in line, a
and stand in
physical.
line and hope that you get the seat that you want. Now you
Right,
can
right,
just go online and go directly to the seat if it's not scout
right.
and get exact seat if you want to pay
Yeah,
four, five, $600 for it. I'm not willing to see anybody, but
badly.
no, no. I get the EP or whatever it is and just lay in bed and listen to it. But
Oh.
no, this is
Well,
only a
and
couple.
even speaking of that, music's different. Music is
Yeah.
different. Yes, there are still vinyl records, those black things that go around and around on a player. However, you don't, you think of when you just get a song and put it on your playlist or listen to it on your phone. Um, but there was a time when you would buy an album and you would hear all these songs by the same artist. And now it's more or less, pick out your favorite song, and I guess you could have them play a whole album or whatever, but that's not as widespread. And back in the old days, good old days, that was your only choice.
Yeah,
That was
I
your only
mean,
choice.
I used to date a DJ, and it amazed me what their garage looked like. It just looked like
Oh, with
a
all the music.
library,
Yeah.
yeah, a
Yeah.
library of just albums, and you
Yeah.
could just go to one section and pick out like it was your birthday. He had a whole thing full of it's your birthday and it's from Stevie Wonder on
Yeah.
back. I go like, oh
Cool.
my God,
Really cool.
but now all that's gone, because
Yeah.
everything is not even a CD, it's on a drive.
Yeah. Your
So,
playlist, or you can access it by just, typing in something that sounds like it, whatever, and then you can pick your choice. I mean, they're wonderful things, about all the advances of today that make the good old days seem so archaic and Fred Flintstone. But I tell you, I do certainly long for some of those things, that we dearly miss,
yeah,
that
I
were just
do.
the way of
I You
life.
know what I miss? You know what I miss?
What else?
I miss the Isley Brothers at the
Oh, yeah.
Emeryville, where they used
Oh,
to sing in Emeryville. I mean, I miss those kind of songs and those kind of concerts where it wasn't a lot of people, but just enough to have a good time and you had a good feeling and
right.
you didn't have to worry about anybody fighting or anything. I just, like the you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just like you go home and it's sweet on your honey and all, all kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes. Definitely good old days. Definitely good old days. Now that's another program. That's another episode. Like we'll spend a whole episode talking about those good old days. I
That's one
think,
of those woulda, shoulda, coulda things that we
okay,
avoid.
got it. I think sometimes I recently got another car, and it's an electric car, which it's way, way new for me. And so I'm having to get used to having a car that talks to me and tells me it's just to stay in my lane. If Joanne, you need to you need to take a break because you're wandering into another lane. Be mindful of your driving, or you're not driving the safest right now. So again, back. This is some George Jetson stuff with talking cars and self-driving cars. I haven't done that one yet, but self-driving cars are just around the corner. We see Waymo, and that's the only one I can think of right now. That at least in the area where I live, I go over to San Francisco, and they are all over the place. So I they're pretty soon driving your own car is going to be back in the good old days.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know about all that. Yeah. I,
And then all the choices, remember when it was just your only choice of TV watching was regular TV or HBO. Remember when HBO was just
right.
out, and you're so excited because you could watch movies, and now it's so many streaming programs. I can't even keep up with half of them, you know?
I know my grandson came out. He said, Mom, your Peacock subscription is up. I'm going, Mom, what?
Peacock.
Which you can't have unless you have something else. So that's how they get you. That's it.
Ah,
Oh,
right,
okay.
right,
I said,
right.
well, what's wrong with your card? But anyway, it's just like you said, it's explosion of different things,
Yeah,
and it makes you think about where things were, where things are, and where things are going to be. Things are so different with our grandchildren these days. So I have
oh
younger
yeah,
grandchildren than you
right,
do, but
right.
the IG and the Facebook and whatever else, they're like really tuned into that. I don't have a clue of what they're doing or why they're doing it. Um, they can type with one finger. I cannot do that. But I hope that with that comes some type of education about safety, um, because it makes me a little afraid of the predators
Yes,
that
yeah,
are out there
yeah.
that are
And
looking.
and I'm sure back in the good old days that because there've always been examples of bad people doing bad things.
Yeah,
And so I think, to say, oh, that didn't exist, it was just in another way,
yeah,
I think in another way. But it is very scary today with just how accessible or how easy it is to, pull children into, some of these um, chat rooms and onto some of these sites where, they definitely shouldn't be. So I think the parents' role is very different than it was in the good
right.
old days. I mean, we had our own issues and our own things to be worried and concerned and nervous about in raising children. I just think it's just extrapolated to such a bigger level now. Because in the good old days, even living in the city, your kids could go outside and play. They could get on their bikes and ride and go to the park by themselves or walk to the neighborhood pool or whatever. I don't know that many kids can do that, especially kids that live in city areas. I don't think that many kids can do that today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't, and not many kids, at least my granddaughter, great granddaughter, like I don't want to walk, and I'm like, girl, I used to walk 3 times, but they don't see the fun in that, running to the corner and walking with, 5 6 abreast, walking to
Um,
school, laughing and talking.
well,
So
they're not used to it for one thing because they get a ride to school.
yeah.
You know.
She lives like across the street from school. I go like, why?
Oh,
I said, no, never mind. No, not
right,
my business.
right, right. Right.
Not my business. So those are some kind of things that continue to evolve and will continue to evolve. We have different political ideas and thoughts that will
Hmm.
fathom change, and it's only going to be left to us to make the necessary changes that we feel and are needed. And that's really it. We had to take the risks and do what we need to do.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so, again, just in the words of Dick Gregory, it's like the only good thing about some of those good old days is that they are in the past.
Yeah.
They are
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
they are in the past, and as we said earlier in the episode, we don't want to discount all of the wonderful, great technical and medical and advances and, just a heightened cost of, lifestyle. Many things, many diseases have been cured, and many people uh, have been lifted out of poverty because of opportunities that came about because of, political and social advances. So many, many things that came out of the good old days that really make for the type of lives that we enjoy today. We're just kind of saying that it's okay to do that. It's kind of fun to look back. There's just this human thing to kind of forget about some of those things that weren't so great, and just kind of wax on. I remember in the old days, those were some good times. So we
Yeah.
just want to leave you with these thoughts that overall, looking back to the good old days can be joyous, momentous, and downright exciting to look back, and dwell, on a different time, on a different past. We all do it. We think it's human to do it. And we're saying it's really okay to look back. We're also saying, please don't stay in the back. Please don't stay in the
Yes.
back.
Yes. Get up in front of the line.
We think this podcast, Wise Black Nanas, we think we have a big job. We think, we're kind of here unofficially as everybody's Wise Black Nana. And so, in thinking about the good old days, we're kind of asking, we asked ourselves, now, what would your Nana say? What would your Nana say about the good old days? And if you should look back on the good old days and wish you were there, we're
Amen.
thinking that your wise black nana would remind you to keep looking forward and to just keep living. We think that she would say to you to let the good things from the good old days inspire you to appreciate today, where you
Right.
are and what you have. That do everything you can to stay positive, even when all around you the news is bad and maybe even sometimes sad. She would tell you to support your families, your communities now more than ever. She'd tell you to get involved and to get into good trouble. She'd take a message from John Lewis and say, get into good trouble.
Yes.
And she'd remind
Really.
you that change is the only thing that is constant.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
we
Yes.
think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said, "Oh yes." I'm just praising you.
So we think we have a responsibility to remind our listeners that, like I said earlier, it's really okay to go back in your thoughts to those good old days. Seek whatever you thought was a better time, especially if it gives you the strength and the motivation to make this time right now be the best that it can be.
Right.
Because if
Amen.
you really think about it, if you really think about it, Dr. Sharla, this time right now will become a good old day.
Yes.
And don't let the good old days keep you from fully engaging in the present. and planning for the future good old days.
Right. And take those risks. Take those risks.
Take those risks. You know, we know that this podcast, as much as Dr. Sharla and I love it and love doing it, it's not for everybody. And we know that it is for a heck of a lot of somebodies. So, Dr. Sharla, and I hope that you've heard something, that you've gained even one thing that you have learned or enabled one insight or inspired you or inspires you to do something, to take some action. We want to always remind you to be grateful. Take stock of what you have achieved, what you can do and achieve versus what you don't have and what you have not done. So just consider how good your life is already and that you have some good old days to look back on. Be grateful for every aspect of it. So let's see, our Nanaism is from our favorite Dr. Maya Angelou. I've learned that no matter what happens or how bad it seems today, life does go on and it will be better tomorrow. Thank you, Dr. Maya.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you for listening, for commenting, for sending us notes. And please share Wise Black Nanas with your friends and family. See you next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into our podcast, Wise Black Nanas. New programs of Wise Black Nanas are on the 1st and 15th of each month. Listen in as you learn more about Wise Black Nanas, Dr. Sharla Walker and Joanne Early. They are everyday nanas. They are not famous, not celebrities or rich, well, rich in life and its experiences. We want you to come back. Tell your friends. So, look for Wise Black Nanas podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Learn more about them and the coaching services they offer at www.wiseblacknanas.com.